T-Man 978. Right now we're going to be taking a look at G.I. Joe Classified Series number 150. Heavy Duty. He's a deluxe figure. He comes in a bigger box than normal. Look at that artwork right here. Look at this. Heavy Duty, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the guys who came out in the late 80s, early 90s. Somebody I completely missed. I was basically introduced to him on G.I. Joe Sigma 6, where he was basically a replacement for Roadblock, because he was Roadblock without being Roadblock. And I really liked that figure. That was like probably my first black action figure. So yeah, I had bias and a soft spot for that situation. Alright, when I said deluxe, now I saw pictures of what it comes with, but once you open this feels like it just comes with a lot. Like this has 6 missiles right there. There's 2 more in here. It has blast effects for each missile. I didn't even know it came with fist. So let's just go into this. Happy Juneteenth! I didn't realize they sent this to me in time for that. But now I'm filming this all over again because my video was almost 30 minutes and I don't want that to happen. You get 8 of these missiles. They're the same missiles that come with Metalhead, I believe that's his name. 2 of these quad blasters. These fit in there loosely. These fit in there snugly. And you get 8 of those, so 8 altogether. This is substantial plastic. That is nice detail right there on that one side. He can hold it individually since he doesn't come with a side arm, which I wish he did come with. And yeah, this is substantial. You wouldn't see anything like this with like their Transformers and whatnot. Like you would get a bunch of hollowness. Now you do get that because it plugs together to this thing over here, but that's the only intentional hollowness because of what it does. But this is solid plastic. It doesn't even feel hollow at all, even though he technically is hollow in certain points. They put exhaust port effects, but yeah, they didn't give you anything to put in there. You get a headset, the 2 combat knives, a viewfinder. This viewfinder is way more pliable than I would like. Another set of hands, a secondary head, and the what is this thing? The Man Portable Heavy Weapon System. The coolest thing about this weapon belt is it goes all the way through. I was wondering, like, why did they only give 1 weapons belt or ammo clip belt? Nope, it goes through, and I think that's the best way they could have done that. And this sits in there really well on these 2 guns, which come packaged separately, but there's nothing else you can do besides put them there or down here. But they want the bigger guns down here, so that's what I did. And these are already attached. The one thing I will show you that might be confusing is this piece right here clips on right here like that, and then when you bend it like this, it has that clip, and that clip fits onto here after you get it onto his body, which is easier said than done. Like you can peg this into his back and get this over the head. I would almost suggest taking his head off and then putting it back on, because it's like not enough clearance up here to have his head, and definitely these headsets and the goggles, you'll be knocking them off. I tried so hard. But let's look at these details a little bit more while we're still here. Here we are with this. Does that say noise? I'm just realizing that. Yeah, that definitely looks like it's saying noise. I could be wrong because that could be 2 U's. Nah, it looks like what I'm saying is correct. He has 100% missiles now that I'm looking at this up close. So yeah, they filled this thing out with deco, like right here there's paint, and yeah, only hollowness this has is whatever, I guess they needed to be hollow under there, but this thing feels like he's wearing part of a Jeep. It's so big. While we're still tuned in, let's look at him close. He comes with this obvious Chicago Bulls necklace, which is really cool. Even if it's not like exactly spot on with their logo, I'm sure that's what they were going for, because his name is Lamont Morris. I believe that was his original name, and he was from Chicago in there. But this face is awesome. I like that it just looks like a regular guy you could just bump into on the street. That is awesome. It looks like a real person almost, even though I know that's not totally what they're going for. It says Shred Head on the back of the hat. They painted the back of the lid, the brim, which is cool. His hair is painted. It's awesome. Got the earrings. You see this belt right here is also removable. They don't include this into the accessory account. This watch is removable. They don't include that. This wristband or communicator, they show him, I don't know if they did it by accident, but on the artwork, they show him looking at this while he's controlling the man portable weapons unit. But this shirt, it reminds me of like Duke's shirt, but just ripped. It's like if Duke put this on and then hulked out. I love this camo design, and he was originally released in 1991. So yeah, I was definitely not doing anything G.I. Joe in 1991. There we are. I did take a moment to be a teenager, not collecting toys and whatnot. I just experienced toys over my great-grandmother's house with my little cousins. You get a knife holder down here, a knife holder right there. Oh yeah, and I do have this like weird paint scuff right there. Oh, there's that. You know what? One thing I forgot to film in my 27 minutes of footage is the articulation. The shoulder goes out slightly above 90. You get butterfly joint, and his pecs are so huge, you ain't getting a whole ton of range around that. His arms do come out pretty much straight though. But he has these big ass biceps, so you're gonna be bumping when you try to do anything. And like I was explaining to one of my friends yesterday, they don't get the arm lengths correct with action figures. Like, black men typically have longer arms, and some people just in general, but like for me, when my arms are completely outstretched and my hands are outstretched, I could touch the center of my thigh right here, and he would not be able to do that even if he had open fingers. But this hand is horizontal hinge, this one, but the weapon holding hands, this one is a vertical hinge and the other one is horizontal. The right hand is the vertical one. Upper torso, I'm going to do this at the same time as the bottom torso. Go back that much, come forward that much. Now you can go so far back you can pop that off without heating it up, which is new for me. You don't get a lot of side range, and it rotates here and at the bottom. The neck. The neck is thick as crap. Let me let you see this. Like, that's a lot of thick plastic around that ball peg. I actually went in here and cut it because this is how much range it was given. That right there. But I cut it so that it can go back that far. I used an X-Acto knife. So now he goes from, I wish I would have filmed this, but he went from having that much head articulation to, I can get him to look up at least that much. We get the drop down hips again. The legs kick out to the side. Basically 90. Thigh rotation. And he does, for big ass forearm biceps, have a lot of crunch right there. I didn't go into that. And he can kick his back. You get the swivel right here. The feet go all the way back. They come forward a lot because you saw that cutout. Thank you. And he has ankle pivot. And here is the bottom of the feet. So yeah, here's his secondary face. I kind of wish it had a different expression, but he has a straight up 90s fade right there. This is something that somebody could still do today, and definitely 2 earrings is current day or later 90s than he came out. It would have only been in the left ear back in the day. All right, here he is with that viewfinder on, and I am so angry. I spent so much time in my previous footage murdering myself for the one with the hat. This would not fit over his eye, and now I see that it's meant for this head, apparently. But there we are with that detail. I honestly couldn't see this with my naked eye. With my naked eye, it just looked like a bunch of sloppy red paint. Well, actually, now that I have it in this light, I can see that. I'm getting old, people. But it just wraps around the head. Now this headset, which I guess he would use since he has these weapons right next to his ears, it can fit on both of the heads, but the wires should be in the front because it looks like that's where the lights are in the front. If we bring it a little bit forward, it does kind of work better on the hat head. Here it is on the hat head. And I swear in the box when I was looking at this, his right eye was looking off to the right, but when I got it out, that changed. There's a little tiny groove at the top, I guess to accommodate where they put the button at the top of caps. Here's what you're working with this. I was getting so aggravated because it was just pointing up. Even if you put it over top of the brim, it doesn't fit right. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could lift this up, but it's still up in the air right there. So this is definitely not meant for this head. Here is the combat knife with the loop up close. Here he is with the knives in the holster. This top one, the blade sticks out the bottom. I don't know how much I like that, but yeah, it does have a long ass handle. But yeah, let's get this set up right here. I'm basically just gonna pop those rocket launchers on here and wrap this around his body. One thing I need to show up close, these handles, they're nicely painted. On this side, if we could pull this forward, it just goes forward. You can see there's an extra button right there. But if you look at the details, he does have padding so it wouldn't hurt his arm and whatnot. But if you have this pegged in, that doesn't touch the shoulder at all, to be honest. And here's where you see this was meant to be cartoon fantasy right there. In fact, he looks a lot like one of the Aliens action figures that came out back in the day. For I think they had a cartoon as well. But this definitely looks like something they would have come with. Whoever worked on this worked hard to make sure that this thing is he has a great center of balance with this. So they did a good job on that. But what you can still do here, you can rock these controls back and forth if you want. You can move this up and down. Of course, you can load and unload the missiles. These can move up. They can move inward and outward and basically go up and down. And that's about that. You do get effects ports in here. If you have those, you can put them in. But the only effects port pieces that we get is with the missiles. Here he is with the viewfinder, and you can go 2 different routes with this effects piece. You can just put the flame effects there to show that he shot them out, or you can go ahead and attach these little missiles to the tips. Only thing about this is I kind of wish they were either a brighter orange or painted. And depending on where your light is, it can look kind of lit up, but you really have to work with that or be somebody who's super duper into photography that knows how to light something up like that. I'm trying to think of anything else I can complain about. Oh yeah, the wrist pegs and the elbow. I don't know how much you're going to see here, but they are a darker complexion than he is, and it's the deep wrist peg. I don't know why they went with that, where it's like deep in so that you can like really notice it. I don't think the other figures are like that. If they are, I can't think of it. Here he is in a knife holding pose, so I can show that. I do wish he came with a sidearm like I mentioned, but here's another option. Right here I have him wielding both of these. Now I would imagine these are padded right there so you can hold it on the shoulder, which you can do, but I wanted to show him with two of them because it's crazy. Here you are so you can see it. And one of the reasons why I was mentioning the arm length and whatnot, and him not being able to stretch his arms over his chest that much because of the bicep and the way they made the pecs. Yeah, the arm length would have been better so you can like reach over here. Let's see. Yeah, you have to make him do something like this where he's like faking it. Like, cause that, I say faking it because the hand isn't holding his other hand. We could force him to do it. All right, here he is next to a couple of other Cobra deluxe figures. Metalhead and Scrap Iron. Scrap Iron is like an ultra deluxe because he comes with a big thing. Like if he just came with this, they would be very comparable. Yeah, these smaller missiles are identical, but Metalhead also came with these larger missiles. Alright, I'm happy I'm filming some of this over because I didn't know where he was. I found him and I didn't realize that this roadblock was a little bit taller, but there you are. The regular first release roadblock, this is the reissue version of that, the recolor. I guess they're about the same height. In fact, he might be a tiny bit taller, but it might just be my table. Thanks to the one DQS, I have refilmed this two times. Oh boy. One, he didn't mention this, but I looked up wolf spider. I had a wolf spider in there. You will see that on Instagram. A wolf spider is Indian and not black, but at least not all the way black. He's melanated, highly melanated, looking at his skin. But here we are with this. I also had forgot Doc because he's been sitting in my Vanguard on the floor for months. And I added 2 Valaverse figures. Here you are. And I'm going to end things here. I really like them. Things that suck, the neck articulation until I fixed it. I do wish he had a sidearm. The articulation is really good, except the bicep area, because not the bicep area, technically the pectoral area, because his pecs are huge. His muscles get in the way. I mentioned the stuff with the elbow joint being darker and the wrist peg being darker. That doesn't kill me. He comes with a lot, and there's a lot you can do with him. He is like the be-all end-all figure you need, except a handgun, like I mentioned. But if you have a bunch of people like this, you can give him a gun from somebody. Or if you have a bunch of weapon sets like I have, he can definitely get a handgun if you want. Anywho, thank you for watching this. Until next time, T-Man978. Link in the description for if you want them on Amazon. Out of here. Click the videos. Click the fucking videos, baby. Click the videos. You should really click these videos. Click the videos. Click those fucking videos, baby. Click the videos. You really should click those videos. Click the shit.